All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The discussion starts right now. We'd like to hear from you mostly. How do you perceive the current leadership of the nation? What are your areas of priorities and areas of concern? And what do you think the role of social media is when it comes to political opinion of young people? That's a conversation we're going to have with my guests in studio. Let me introduce them one more time. Starting from my farthest right, Marco Uko is here, Youth Coordinator, National Students Council. Thank you for making time. Alenga Torostad, the Governance and Public Policy Expert. Asante sana for making time. Shiko Kihika, Executive Director, Tribeless Youth. Thank you very much for making time. And Victor Marende, Leader, Movement for the Defense of Democracy, MDD. Thank you very much. Before we talk about this general leadership in the country, let's take a look at the dailies here. And we see on the front page of the Standard, goofing home and away. And then also on the Daily Nation, Duale paves the way for Shah tycoons to pocket billions. Let's just get into it. Alenga, you're the first one here. What is your concern with the current leadership of the nation? Are we heading in the right direction or the wrong direction?
Trevor, thank you for the auspicious welcome to this show this morning and delving direct into the discussion. What is the state of this leadership that we have at the moment? Number one, and what strikes my attention so strongly is the negligence of the youthful population of this country by this regime. They have no plan to help the young people materialize their talents, their education, and their participation even in governance systems. The door is locked, the windows are locked, and the young people are just outside. These growing numbers are a big concern, and sometimes, sometime in future, we may have very serious questions to answer these young people, and maybe it will not be a nice show. So the government must wake up and realize that this youthful population needs answers to the abounding questions that they have. You feel they've been neglected. How would inclusion look like for you? Inclusion would look like this if we have a system that recognizes effort by young people. We were told while growing up that education is the equalizer. And then young people, through very poor backgrounds, worked their way through education, just hoping that they will be able to get something so that they can even feed their mothers or their fathers or their parents who struggle to put them through education. So you finish education, you have your degree, you have your diploma, you have your certificate, and the doors are all closed. But every day you see politicians, their cronies, their supporters, getting jobs every other day. You see positions being created for advisors, for whatever. Very inefficient way of running the economy. They tell you that there is no money, but there is money to create positions to absorb failed politicians. There is money to absorb broad-based products. There is money to absorb all the unnecessary things in this country. But continuously, young people are told, you know, there's no jobs. Your startups, when it comes to the startups, the conditions are too high for these young people to meet. The money that they need to shed off just before they can start up something, the tax regime, all those things continue to shatter the dreams of young people. But then what does the government tell you? There's nothing we can do. We are planning, we are arranging, we are doing things. Today we are shipping our young people out of this country into servitude in other territories. A lot of things are happening and nobody seems to say anything. Young people are being conned in their thousands for jobs that are not existing by agents that continue to sit in this country and enjoy the cover-up of government and security agencies. These young people have questions, and these questions will be answered someday. Okay. Victor, is that your feeling as well, that young people are neglected from the government?
Trevor, good morning, and good morning to our viewers. Thank you for having me here. Now, before I would go into what is the subject of the day, I would really want to condole with fellow Catholics and faithfuls on the passing on of His Holiness Pope Francis. But as we condole with His Holiness Pope Francis, then in Nairobi, closer home, we have 6 who have died because of the recent floods. So I would also wish to condole with their families, but then ask politely and rightfully to have leadership that cares about its citizens it's been a recurrence that every raining season in Nairobi is a death trap for Nairobians. Then it's also unfortunate that one of our MCAs in the city, Joel Munuve, may the Lord rest his soul in peace, a friend, also just collapsed on his way to work and passed on. May his family find comfort. So having said that, Trevor, the youth situation in this country is an issue that needs addressing. And as my friend Alenga puts it, the youth need answers. They need answers. Now, they need answers from the government. They need answers right within them. And quite without saying where the blame is, because then we would be turned into a crying nation. I would also not want to waste a whole career of myself blaming someone. You know, where I come from, when we come to the city, and when I came to the university as the first time in Nairobi, then we had most of us saying, oh, where were my parents when my grandparents when these tall buildings, skyscrapers were being built in the city? Did my grandfather sleep on the job? Was my grandfather just writing love letters to my grandmother? Then when you don't really focus on building yourself, yeah, then you live a life of regret. So even as we know that then there is a real problem because the youth population is bulging. And you know the current problem, what most of government officials and government, and even ourselves have not realized, is that the current youth problem in the country is not the ordinary youth problem that we had in the past. And in the past, we had a youth population that is not adequately educated, not adequately informed. Now, the current problem is an urban youth problem. When you look at the demonstrations that we had in 2023, when you look at the demonstrations that we had in 2024, they were urban youth-led. It is not the normal ghetto youth-led demonstrations. So then it means that the youth on the street is educated, but with no job. Is informed, with no job. But apart from the information that they have and the education they have, the youth are saying, give us an enabling environment. Because then we are in the E-era, where the youth can even find themselves jobs abroad, online. And they would be comfortably seated in their places, in their residences, and doing these kind of jobs. Are we being enabled to do them? You are talking about taxation on startups. The amount of double taxation on every single business you want to start up. You get someone giving you a tax on maybe you have to get a license on making noise. The same license if it's food, then there are several agencies wanting you to pay duties and levies. So I would really maintain that without directly giving youths jobs in government, because the government can only accommodate almost just 800,000 to 1 million people at any given single moment. And the positions are filled up. So then it means that whatever vacancy would occur either when one is fired, one dies, retirement, or early retirement otherwise. So then where is the opportunity? It's private sector and self-employment. Okay. So an enabling environment will do wonders. Okay.
Shiko, do we have an enabling environment for the young people to thrive in their own capacity?
No. We've not had this for the longest time, and I think we've had this conversation over and over again. And my biggest problem is, and I like that you said a retirement happens, and that's when we have an opportunity. In this country, people don't retire. People wait for their death. And when they die, their wives are given positions, or their kids are given positions. So there's no room for vacancies at all. So for me is, and I hate to have this conversation or nearly having a conversation about another finance bill, because then it means more taxation, because our president is out here going to borrow, and he's gone to the east where he said he'll never go. So we know more debts are coming, whichever way, and we know China collateral is never good for the people. So for me, I think as a country, we've never had a genuine conversation on what an enabling environment for our young people looks like. So everybody uses the word empowerment, empower the youth. But if you look at the structures of empowerment when it comes to even our county governments, it's football kitties. And most of the county governments have a budget of 200,000 for the youth. And that's supposed to be an empowerment budget under the governor's kitty that goes to buying footballs and jerseys, you know. So when you look at it, we have really looked at our youth as, I don't want to call them options, but completely marginalized them to a point where we only remember you when we need your votes. Right now, all of them are campaigning. We've seen our president making tours everywhere in the country now. So he's made a statement that he's ready to campaign again, or that he's already campaigning. This is a man in power. Instead of asking ourselves, why is it that just last year we lost so many lives? Just last year, we had so many young people protesting. Just last year, we had so many young people filling their offices because they promised us odd jobs abroad, right? And then it comes out to be a con. So then it tells you how this government has taken us, or how they look at us. Like your people of small pennies, that whatever we throw at you, you'll be okay. And we don't want to have a proper, genuine conversation of what this means. Because I wish I would walk into a government office. They have the government affirmative fund that is supposed to be for women, young people, and persons with disability. This money has never been categorized in a way that, you know, this much is for women, this much is for youth, this much is for persons with disability. So the youth are just, oh, get a group of 10, we give them 50,000, let them go start a chicken business. And everybody believes every young person needs to be a farmer. And I never get where that comes from. We have the youth fund, which is supposed to be an enabling fund for the youth. We do not know how this fund gets to young people, because the match you get is 100,000, and you have to be a group of between 10 to 20 people. So then how does this enable you to even start a business? Because then if you give me 100K and we're 10 people, that's 10,000 per person. I don't have rent for that month. I'm going to sort my rent first before I think about a business. And there is no business that you're going to start with that is worth 10,000 shillings that is going to give you a sustainable life. And, you know, it's interesting because the people who tell us, oh, Chukua, what is that fund by Ruto for M-Pesa?
Hustler Fund.
Hustler Fund. So,
500 bob.
I told I'll give you Hustler Fund so that you start an enabling business. You've given me 500 shillings. Yeah. Him and his chicken business that he started before becoming the president, did he start it with 500 bob? I'd really want to see a broken down Excel sheet of how it grew to the billions he handles right now. So for me, I think we need to stop lying to our youth in the name of empowerment. We need to stop throwing this word empowerment. It's as if our young people have no ability to create. And we need to stop looking at our youth like people who, if they're not home farming on lands that don't exist, one, then they have no opportunity. Or if we're not taking them to Saudi to become house helps and whatever else we are looking at giving them, then they cannot succeed in their own country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yes, thank you so much, Trevor, for having me. I will answer this question in terms of two binaries. So when you look at the approach that has been emerging, especially amongst the youth, it comes in two forms, okay? There's the political approach that has been coming up and the economic approach that has been coming up. And I think they have laced so much about the economic approach. Now, one, as I start by responding to the political approach, there has been an exponential growth in terms of the public approach, especially from the public anger over the past year, particularly since the inception of the finance 2024 finance bill. And the reason as to why we are getting the public, the people themselves are becoming the opposition itself, this is one huge political blunder that the president did. And what is the political blunder that the president did? The president has micromanaged the traditional spaces via which people used to find solace in expressing themselves, okay? In the past, people would either express themselves via the opposition, which was, you know, the opposition is Raila Odinga. You know, he has a huge say on that space. If the president is micromanaging the opposition,
to mislead. Are we also allowed to mislead our viewers?
No, I'm saying,
you disagree with
we
it.
already have the opposition in government.
Yeah.
We have the public. You know, politics is about persuasion and perception. The public perception out there is that the opposition is in government. The parliament.
It's reality. They are there.
The public perception is that judiciary is being micromanaged by the executive. Parliament is being micromanaged by the executive. The opposition is being micromanaged by the executive. Then that leaves the public is that now they have to be the opposition themselves because they do not find out the traditional spaces that they could express themselves. In terms about the economic uproar, I do agree with myself that there is a huge trust deficit from the youth in terms of the capacity of government in absorbing them, say, into building the economic transformation. But I'll say this is not something that has been incepted during the incumbency of President Ruto. This has been a long running problem. And I will go to something that Marende has done. The work of government is not particularly to give people jobs. That's not the primary job of government. The primary work of government is to create an enabling environment in which people can get jobs, or create an environment for those who may not go to the formal spaces, create an entrepreneurial culture that is favorable to them. Then that raises the question, what are the precautions or the incentives that government can take in enabling such environment, reducing the taxation level, say, for those who are going to the digital space, because that is seems the most viable space that most young people are going to create jobs. So those are my 2 cents thoughts about as a preamble to this discussion.
I'm about to take a break, but let me bring in Alenga on this, because all this, I was setting this stage because I wanted to ask you that next question. Are we ripe for a new era of politics, or will we do more of the same?
I think,
because
Trevor,
how does this entire dynamic shift? How does it shift?
I think, Trevor, first of all, is to discount the fact that governments do not exist to give jobs to citizens. Actually, they do. And that is why in every manifesto, you see anybody that wants to become president or to rule the country says they will create this number of jobs. They can't be stupid to say that in their manifesto. They know. This is how governments create jobs. Governments create jobs by engaging in bilateral ties that increase production in their own countries. Let's say the way the president is in China. If the president can negotiate how China can set up a big manufacturing plant in Kenya for microchips and maybe nanotechnology.
Which is what part of it
that
was. In
will
fact,
actually,
147 billion mostly was for starting different enterprises under PPP. Part of it is in reviving things
exactly.
Like
so if those are done, if those are actually materialized, because we've seen a lot of these conversations. Remember when we had even a whole list of goodies on the American website trying to tell us this is what we'll get, this is what we have agreed, and till now we are waiting. So if that bilateral ties work to the advantage, or they work in the sense that I am increasing capacity for my country, not that I am negotiating some loans for my country, then out of these loans we will get these, we will eat these, we will put aside these, we'll do this, then that brings down the whole structure. Now to the question that you asked, are we ready for a shake-up of the governance?
A new era of politics.
A new era of politics. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that right now there are so many people that understand where the country is going. You cannot lie to an ordinary Kenyan that the economy is doing fine, that SHA is working, that this is working. You don't have to. You cannot lie to Kenyans. They sift through that information. They see what is working and what is not working. So Kenyans know where they are at the moment. They know that they are suffering. They know they are suffering because of the ills they brought themselves by voting in this regime. They can clearly point where their problem is. They know the other problem is Raila Odinga, who has curtailed the space for them to criticize government. Now government is doing everything the way they want. They have nobody, they have no opposition to stop them. They have no one to check them in parliament. Opposition politicians are praising the government on a day-to-day basis. They are always on Twitter. everywhere. They are speaking in barrios, pontificating a lot of nonsense. That's where we are as a country.
Is that a fair statement, Alenga? Because, you know, this in itself is a big concern. Just the other day, James Orengo, the Siaya governor, is taking fire for having allegedly spoken against what other people say. So when you say that all the politicians are singing praises to the government, is that a fair statement?
Did you see the backlash that Orengo received for just speaking his mind? And the people who mobilized against him are actually the people that not so long ago we were looking at them as saviors. I was taking a back step and I was like, okay, so these are the people that we thought were going to rescue us. Just the same people that are pressing our heads in the water so that we can drown properly. They are the same people we were thinking they will arrive with a life-saving boat and pick us up. So the opposition has really messed up the country because right now we have a government that can just run how it wants. It can ravage the way it wants. Nobody is going to speak. Nobody is going to talk. Yeah. So that's where we are as a country. But the good thing is that every ordinary Kenyan understands what is happening. I think while ODM was going into this, they believed that everybody would just be quiet and say, when Raila is happy, everyone is happy. But for the first time, people are reading through and they're like, wow, if you just wanted 3 ministerial positions for Nyanza, did people have to die? This is something you could have negotiated in a hotel and just tell Mr. Ruto, I want 3. Can you give me? You didn't have to take people with sufurias on the streets. Why were they demonstrating? Why were they calling for a fair system if this is only what you wanted?
Are you assuming that Raila called for the protests?
This is the other thing that,
because
yes, he did. In 2023, he did.
We are talking about 2024 because this is where the handshake happened.
I'm talking about the 2023 because that resulted from the issues that we had with the government that had just taken power. So then he calls for these protests, and remember how many people lost their lives in those protests. You know, we keep forgetting, and we always remember the most immediate. Before the Gen Z demonstrations, there were demonstrations in 2023, and lots of people lost lives. But now the point is, if we were merely looking for a way to get into government, did we have to have that level of casualties?
Okay.
You know?
And Marende, was that a way of looking to get into government, or was it an alternative way after the protest? Because this is the argument that I keep hearing.
By their fruits, you will know them.
But the opposition side, I keep hearing this argument that they've been on the streets for long, and now this was a new approach to have dialogue rather than go on the streets.
You know, Trevor, I see an attempt to try to answer the question you asked. But then before that, there is this misleading statement that is made here by almost now all the speakers except Chico.
Two speakers.
That Raila is the opposition in Kenya. Yeah. You know, as we attempt to get into the new era of Kenya, we must also strive not to have the hangover of the yesterdays. Because then we have a new constitution in this country that was promulgated in 2010. It's no longer new. It's a working constitution in this country. And this constitution is very clear that there is no opposition in this country. We have the majority and minority parties. And the people can take up that role at any given time they would want to take it up. And it is clear in the first chapters of the constitution and the preamble. So
Marende, would you tell us what is the role of the minority?
Alenga, allow me to make this point.
Yes, while you are doing that, just remind us the role of the minority.
I would answer to Trevor and not to you.
I knew you wouldn't.
Now, when we talk about Raila owning the opposition, then we are not being progressive as a country. Because in 2024, there were demonstrations in this country to almost a coup without the involvement of Raila Odinga. To almost a coup. Now, we've had demonstrations before Raila Odinga. There were demonstrations against the British colony in this country and against the British government. That it forced the British government to have a state of emergency in the country, like the one we almost had in 2024. There was no Raila at that time. But then, to talk about a new era and have a discussion about what we must do as a country politically now, And you know, Alenga has made a statement to insinuate that he knows those who are mobilizing against Orengo. And he said he knows, he never thought they would do it.
But we all know them.
It's okay. Me, I don't know them.
We all know them.
Me, I don't know them. But then we must agree that the current discourse in the country and within the political party of ODM is very healthy, firstly to state it. And I would want to jog our minds to the Labour Party in the UK, the party that lost elections from 79 to 1997. And in 92, after the death of Smith, who was the party leader of the Labour Party, then they sat down to reorganize, to rethink why the Labour Party lost, a party that was the people's favorite, that won almost all the elections in that country. So it's a time for reflection. Now, you look at the recommendations that they had and to the change of Schedule 4 of the party constitution, to transform that party from a socialist party to a party that cared about the people. Is it ripe for a discourse in this country to have a discussion about the people?
Okay.
Now, the question about the new era begins with parties. We are not a partyless state. We are a state that strives on political parties. Hence, the Political Parties Act 2010.
But I also think that's our biggest cancer.
Yeah.
I also think political parties
we can have that discourse.
They are a whole cancer.
So when you look at how Tony Blair then came up with the New Labour in the UK and how they cared about the healthcare systems in that country, how they cared about the education in that country, how they cared about constitutional reforms. Now, we've had enough constitutional reforms in this country. Would we now want to talk about economic reforms? Is it time we talk about political economic reforms?
Not all at all.
Okay.
Or do we talk about economic political reforms? So it's a whole discussion.
And that's where we're going now. To take a quick break, I know Mark and Shika are here to delve into this conversation, and that's what we're talking about. Will the young people usher in a new era of politics, or will they do more of the same thing? The more things change, the more they remain the same. Is that the direction we're taking? We'd like to hear from you. Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag DayBreak. Also, how much does social media influence your political thinking? That's another conversation we'll also have right after this break. Keep your views coming. See you shortly.